Remember the movie Men in Black? The neuralizer, the noisy cricket, the whole "we keep aliens on payroll" bit? Funny, until this last January, when a flurry of astrophysics preprints, closed-door Senate chatter, and some eyebrow-raising data leaks all landed on the same punchline. Maybe they're not on the way. Maybe they're already blending in. At least, that's the fear some scientists and lawmakers can't shake. Here's what's not up for debate. Object 3I Atlas was spotted by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System in July 2025. It's only the third known interstellar visitor to enter our solar system. What raised eyebrows is that early tracking showed unusual behavior, brighter than expected, possibly producing its own light. Some researchers, like Harvard's Avi Loeb and his team in the Galileo project, openly speculated whether the object could be more than just a comet. One preprint even suggested that its trajectory might be consistent with artificial maneuvering. At this point, no peer-reviewed study has confirmed that 3I Atlas is driven or that it can stop and start like a spacecraft. But the mere fact that serious astronomers are testing such ideas shows how odd this object looks compared to ordinary comets. Stories around the U.S. Capitol continue to circulate about classified briefings to the Congressional UAP task force. Allegedly, leaked slides mention objects maneuvering over Nevada and even strange biological samples. Currently, there is no public evidence to support these claims. No verified documents, no official acknowledgement. But whispers like this persist in the highest governmental and UFO research circles, adding fuel to the fire whenever new space anomalies crop up. In the past, most UFO stories crumble under blurry photos and fuzzy memories. But here's the difference, and it's worth noting. We now see a convergence that has never happened in the past. The combination of a legitimate interstellar object, 3I Atlas, a respected research initiative, Galileo project, and government hearings on UAPs happening in parallel. The dark forest hypothesis once sounded like science fiction, that civilizations stay quiet to avoid predators. Now, when unusual data points line up, the metaphor starts to feel less abstract. The question worth asking is, what could aliens really living among us look like? If an advanced civilization can cross interstellar distances, hiding here would be trivial. They wouldn't need disguises or even Ray-Bans, just quiet communication channels and inconspicuous supply lines. Loeb's team has noted that our own probes use microwave and millimeter wave frequencies to phone home, bands that Earth militaries don't scrutinize much. At this point, there's no verified evidence that aliens are routing packets through our satellites, but the possibility highlights how stealthy such communication could be. The scariest scenario isn't the spectacle of a saucer lowering itself onto the White House lawn. That would almost be comforting, loud, obvious, impossible to deny. At least then we'd know where we stand. No, the real terror is quieter. It's the thought that something has been here all along, watching with unblinking patience. If 3I Atlas, or anything like it, isn't just a comet but a probe, then our entire world may already be under surveillance. Every sharp swing of the stock market, every sudden military maneuver, every viral TikTok challenge spreading like wildfire could be more than human chaos. They could be signals, behavioral data, quietly fed into algorithms we can't even begin to imagine. Picture it. Vast, cold systems humming in the dark between stars, sifting our lives the way we sift through ant colonies or the migration patterns of birds. The arguments of our politicians, the panic in our headlines, the jokes on our phones, all charted, graphed, and dissected with clinical detachment. And that's the part that keeps young researchers awake at night. Not the crash of saucers or beams of light tearing open the sky, but the quiet horror that they've already mapped us. That they know what frightens us, what tempts us, what breaks us. And through it all, they never once needed to step into the open. But what can we as citizens do? For one, push for transparency. Even the harshest skeptics agree on this point. There is no danger in releasing the unclassified appendices of UAP reports. These sections don't reveal cutting-edge weapons platforms or sensitive troop movements. They don't compromise national security. What they reveal instead are the gaps, the moments when our billion-dollar systems, the eyes and ears of Earth's defenses, went blind. Imagine reading those pages. radar sweeps that should have caught everything within hundreds of miles, registering nothing but static. Infrared satellites, built to detect the faintest missile plumes from the other side of the planet, showing only blank skies, while trained pilots reported objects pacing them at impossible speeds. Each empty entry isn't just an absence of data. It's a silent admission that something slipped past the most advanced surveillance web humanity has ever constructed. That's why this step matters. Transparency doesn't just satisfy curiosity, it sets a precedent. If governments can keep even harmless gaps locked behind red tape, then what else are they burying under the label of classified? Citizens deserve more than rumors. Scientists deserve more than breadcrumbs. And lawmakers, if they're to represent us honestly, deserve the pressure of a public that demands answers, not excuses. Accountability begins with the simplest release, the empty logs. Because sometimes the most terrifying evidence isn't what fills the page, it's what's missing from it. And if our sensors are blinking at shadows, then the world deserves to know why. Some say politics explains the timing. Others point to the numbers. NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab has run statistical models on 3I Atlas's trajectory. Even with conservative assumptions, the chance of it being a purely natural object comes in below 1%. Such results don't prove anything artificial, but in astrophysics, even tiny probabilities are enough to justify further study. Congress took notice, and the Galileo project's budget was quietly doubled. We can't just keep ignoring the precedents that are out there. History is littered with odd reports that refuse to fade into obscurity. Take the famous 1561 Nuremberg woodcut, where townspeople describe strange aerial battles filling the sky, globes, cylinders, and crosses clashing overhead in what they swore was no ordinary sunrise. Centuries later, in 1897 Aurora, Texas, locals claimed that a craft plummeted from the sky and that its pilot, described as not of this world, was quietly buried in the town cemetery. These stories might be folklore, but they are not isolated. In 1942, during the tense months of World War II, Los Angeles was thrown into panic when anti-aircraft guns opened fire on unidentified objects hovering in the night sky. Searchlights crisscrossed, explosions lit up the dark, yet no enemy planes were ever found, a mystery that became known as the Battle of Los Angeles. Then there's the 1967 Shag Harbor incident in Nova Scotia, where multiple witnesses, including Canadian officials, reported a glowing object crashing into the sea. Search and rescue teams searched the waters, but nothing was ever recovered. Even in the scientific realm, anomalies slipped through. In 1977, a radio telescope at Ohio State University detected the famous WOW signal, a strong, unexplained burst from deep space lasting 72 seconds. Astronomers have searched ever since, but no natural source has ever been confirmed. On their own, these accounts are unexplained curiosities, folklore, misidentifications, or perhaps even hoaxes. But when modern anomalies arise, like interstellar objects behaving unlike comets or radar logs showing impossible maneuvers, people inevitably glance backward. Those old reports begin to feel less like quaint stories and more like puzzle pieces waiting for context. What once seemed like dusty legends or strange footnotes in history start to carry a different weight, as if the past has been whispering to us all along, and we're only now learning to listen. The truth is, our near future could be very different. If disclosure accelerates, the effects will ripple through nearly every part of society. Global markets could wobble as investors scramble to price in the unknown, wondering how the presence of non-human technology might affect defense industries, energy, or even basic consumer confidence. International treaties among nations might need rewriting because traditional ideas of airspace sovereignty collapse when objects can cross borders, or planets, without resistance. And on the ground, ordinary citizens with smartphones could suddenly become the world's most powerful investigators. A single high-resolution video, uploaded in seconds, might outpace government analysts and force officials to respond before they are ready. None of this is guaranteed, of course. It's projection. But it's a projection grounded in the reality of today's hyper-connected world, where information can't be bottled up for long. We've already seen how a single viral clip can shift global conversations overnight. Now imagine what happens when the subject isn't a trending dance or a news scandal, but evidence suggesting that we are not alone. Here's what we all need to do: stay informed and get involved. The Galileo project posts raw telescope data every week, freely available to anyone. You don't need a government clearance or $1 million lab, just curiosity, persistence, and maybe a bit of coding skill. Download the files, run your own analyses, and add another pair of eyes to the search. Because the truth may not come from official briefings or press conferences, it may come from an ordinary citizen who catches the one anomaly everyone else missed. That citizen could be you. Don't just wait for disclosure to trickle down. Help build it from the ground up. Here's the question almost no one wants to ask. If 3i Atlas, or any interstellar visitor, actually carries watchers, then the real mystery isn't what do they want. It's why stay hidden for so long. The unsettling possibility, drawn from the dark forest theory, is that silence itself is a strategy. Perhaps they are observing, cataloging, waiting, until some signal convinces them it's time to reveal themselves. Whether that moment comes when we reach a certain level of technology, broadcast the wrong kind of message, or stumble into their path, the implication is chilling. They may already be here, simply waiting for the right reason to act. The facts are undeniable. 3i Atlas is real, it is interstellar, and it is peculiar enough to push respected scientists into asking questions once left to science fiction. Beyond that, the whispers about leaked slides, alien tissue, or unseen watchers remain unverified, but they refuse to die. They drift through the conversation like shadows, feeding an unease that no briefing or press release can quite erase. And perhaps the most terrifying truth isn't in what we can prove, it's in what we can't. The sky above us is still filled with silence and secrets, with signals we haven't learned to hear and movements we cannot yet explain. For all our telescopes and satellites, we remain blind in ways that matter most. So maybe the real fear isn't that they're here, it's that they've always been here, watching, waiting, and only now are we beginning to notice.